Great. So for our next session, Darrell, Sandfoss, James Binkley, and Dan Vlamis will be presenting on East Kentucky Power Co-op's upgrading from OBIE to OAS, or Oracle Analytics Server. They really wanted to capitalize on their investment of their existing data warehouse, their dashboards and reports, while still being able to really leverage the self-service capabilities of data visualization with Oracle Analytics Server. In this session, you'll learn about what came across and what was left behind during their migration, and learn about their dashboards, which were fine as is, as well as which ones were replaced with the new capabilities within data visualization. So Darrell and James, take it away, and looking forward to your session.
All right, so this is Dan Vlamis. We're going to talk, as Brendan just talked about. Darrell and James, I assume you're on. You guys live with your microphone?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Sounds great. All right, I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce East Kentucky Power Co-op.
Hey, I'm James. So very quickly, East Kentucky Power is a not-for-profit generation and transmission electric utility. We serve roughly 1.2 million Kentuckians across half the state, and we are owned by 16 member-owned cooperatives.
Yeah, and from a BI perspective, we've historically, much like Shruti actually mentioned, historically we've looked at financial data in a very descriptive, hindsight-oriented manner, what's happened. It's very financial data-oriented. In particular, we look a lot at the costs and the budgets, and our managers like to look at that obviously across time, and again, looking back in time to see what has happened. Our accounting department, among other departments, we use it as a research tool to just dig into problems that they might occur from day to day.
All right, and in terms of Vlamis software, we're the partner that was involved in here. There's all sorts of information. The slide is really more for reference. We have been doing this for over 25 years. We specialize in Oracle-based enterprise business intelligence and analytics, that type of stuff. We have multiple ACEs on staff, and we're proud of being certified by Oracle with an expertise in business analytics. We also are authors of the book on data visualization. So I'll let Darrell or James go through a little background on the EKPC background on this.
Sure. So prior to Vlamis coming in, we had a legacy OBIE system at 11G that we installed probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago.
James, sorry, can you lean into the mic a little bit on this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm using my camera mic. Is that better?
Better now.
Okay. Yeah, so we had a system, an OBIE system in place for about 7 or 8 years, I guess now. And over time, probably around 2017 or 2018, we were looking, hey, we probably need to upgrade, or what's the next step? And at that point in time, I believe the next step for BI was a cloud-only solution. I could be wrong on that. But due to some business decisions and other things, we are predominantly on-prem with all of our stuff. So at that point in time, we dropped support for our OBIE system. It was working well. It was still meeting all our needs. So, dropping support had some other issues it brought along. We were, that version of BI with its database requirements kind of stuck us with an older version. At that time, we were on 12.1, and we still are because of that system.
Yeah, and in terms of our business goals, EKPC many years ago bought OBIE for the reason of centralized reporting, consolidation of reporting, and as is mentioned previously, just a consistent single source of truth. The best solution over time that we've found was to stay with Oracle, and now to get current and look forward to all the new features that might be available with OAS, of course. And what's important to us is the continued stability of the data, the interface, just to keep things consistent for the user community. But we also looked at just reworking that foundation to support everything and to set us up for the future, so that we can make use of the new features and functionality found in something like OAS.
So, we get asked a lot, why are we not cloud? So we are Kentucky, we are in rural Kentucky. Our internet providers are not the best. We have one provider that can basically provide us with the connection we need. So, cloud isn't always an option for us. We're an electric utility. We are online 24 hours a day, every day of the year. We have people in the office. And, a tornado comes through, knocks out internet, some of this data and BI they need to make daily decisions, might not be there. So, we like to joke around that we are a clear blue skies data, shop. We have a significant investment in a nice data center. We have a team of IT professionals, and we prefer to manage our data ourselves.
And I'll add that as we were looking at helping EKPC, we also said, hey, for people that don't know, for a while, Oracle was really pushing the cloud analytics, OAC, very strongly. And I think once we showed OAS, Oracle Analytics Server, being able to run on-prem to the folks at EKPC, they were very interested in that Oracle did have a non-cloud solution. I think it worked out to your guys' advantage to actually wait for that non-cloud solution with OAS that came out about a year ago or so. And we helped position that with Oracle, talked to them about it, and were able to connect up. So that was great. So what else did you guys do? What did the project consist of?
So, of all the projects I've been a part of, especially when Oracle middleware is involved, and this is probably one of the easiest, especially as many major versions we skipped. Going to OAS from BI, we basically stood up a vanilla OAS system. It includes a jar file migration utility. I grabbed the jar file from John, the consultant I was working with at Vlamis, and without any downtime, I created an export of our entire BI configuration, and we brought it into OAS. And I don't remember any errors that day. It was all there, and most importantly, our security was maintained. We used a different external authentication to manage our security groups and users, and it was all there, and it worked.
Good.
And as a part of that, as I said, when we dropped support, we were stuck on 12.1 as our database, and OAS 12.1 was a part of that, which was really helped push the project forward. And this project's really going to be two parts. And the next thing, we wanted to get the front end upgraded first, get the users used to the data, what they're going to see, and I think Darrell will touch more on that in a bit. But that project, I think within 2 or 3 days of starting, we had our OAS instance up with all our dashboards and all our data in there. It's still using our older warehouse, the current production warehouse, but that is the next project.
Yeah, and with that migration, what we did was Dan in particular, he helped us in giving a demonstration to our user community and to management of the future capabilities, data visualization being the most important. And that went over really, really well. That helped a lot as we, keep that stability, keep everything the same, but we recreate that foundation, but look forward to the future and get people excited about that. We created the project plan to get us there, and Vlamis really did most of the work, whether it be, working with James at the database layer and so forth, or even, at the OAS side itself.
And while we're on here, I think we'll get into this a little later, but it's interesting to note that in this case, EKPC wanted to keep the Oracle database the same as an on-prem database. That was on 12.1. That stayed the same the whole way, so we didn't have to deal with any of the complexities in changing database versions or something like that. We also discussed whether we should upgrade the front end. I think as James was mentioning before, they looked at potentially, do we want to do everything in migrating BI apps? There's an ODI migration for those that don't know. We're not going to talk as much about it, but they were on an older release of BI apps. There's a new version that came out, 10.3, that just came out over the summer. And the decision was made really to do that as a second phase. and start with just the front end migration, if you will, of OAS, migrate over all the dashboards, and then look at the new release of ODI that we can do with 10.3, and that migration is just finishing up now. This is mostly about just the OBIE to OAS migration. Okay, and then what did you guys see? Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention was that from our standpoint as a partner, what really helped us was that EKPC was very much ready for this migration. Great group to work with in terms of being able to ask them, hey, where's this server? No problems in actually being able to sign on. Everybody was willing to jump in. So that worked out very well and really streamlined the whole project. But I'll go ahead and ask what kind of results did you guys come up with on the project?
You know, I think I kind of touched on it, but with the ease of bringing our entire dashboard configuration and security over into OAS, I think that really left a lot more time in the project for the RPD side and the actual intricacies of the warehouse, you know, the BI side of things, which Darrell probably touch on. But you know, I don't know how much else to explain that it was painless. I mean, so much more time left to troubleshoot other things that maybe, you know, we've been not looking at for years, or whatnot.
Yeah, and you know, we were able to reuse all the old dashboards, and you know, they're not really old; they're new now. A little bit different look and feel, but that was basically it. Some font differences here and there, but that allowed us to easily migrate things. And in fact, the strategy we took was to run this new environment, front end, if you will, in parallel with the OBIE side, and that made it a little bit more transparent to the users. They were able to migrate to the new platform, new interface on their own time. As I mentioned, we provided that demonstration for some of the future capabilities, but we also demonstrated just the new interface and just to get people up to speed with this is all that's changing. And it worked really well with that strategy of parallel environments and people just migrating as they wanted.
So Darrell, I'll also ask, there's a couple questions that came in on chat. I'll remind people if they have questions, we can track them better if you put them in the Q&A, but I'm going to go ahead and ask, what types of data sources did you have? How varied were they? Were they all on site? Any other cloud vendors, AWS, Azure, anything like that, Darrell?
Yeah, in our case, everything is very much on site. Our data source in this case primarily is financial data. In fact, in particular, PeopleSoft, but it's budget, account-oriented data plus project-oriented data. But PeopleSoft is the main source. But we also have another Oracle product that was a source of data that was quite different. The two come into the warehouse and they get married together. That source is OPPM, for those that might know that product.
Primavera product.
An Oracle product and in project-oriented Oracle product. But in all cases, we had zero issue with the merging of that data. But again, the OAS was more the interface-oriented side, so we didn't see any issues there. And now the secondary project that we're going through that Dan mentioned is the ODI side.
And are you an all Oracle house? Yes, we're probably 90% Oracle. All the data sources, the target and the sources in this project are Oracle backend.
Right.
Okay, super. Well, then I'll get a little more background for people that maybe aren't as familiar with exactly where we are on this Oracle Analytics journey. You know, I think most people know probably they're on here. There's a product called Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, OBIEE, and that's now has in effect been renamed Oracle Analytics. And there's a whole Oracle Analytics line, and that's part of Oracle's rebranding to try and simplify the map of all the products. And I'll go through a little bit of the differences between them. But the big headliner here is that data visualization is included in Oracle Analytics Server now. It's not hard to move, and basically it's worth it. We'll go through the timeline on this in a little bit, but all your dashboard investment in OBIEE comes over to Oracle Analytics, and it's the same interface is available there. If you are using BI applications, there are many customers that purchased OBIEE for BI apps. You can move to BI apps 10.3. That's really a platform refresh. There's not a whole lot of new functionality in BI apps 10.3. It's really just so you can, it's a technology upgrade. You move to WebLogic 12c and ODI 12c. And for some organizations, it's very important to be able to move to that new platform. That runs also on OBIEE 12.214, which is the terminal release of OBIEE, or on Oracle Analytics Cloud, or on OAS for that BI apps 10.3. And the EKPC move was really helped in this case by really no complications from automated agents or significant customizations that they had made. And that's one of the things that really streamlined that. We've helped other customers where they had more complications in changing things using the advanced tab in OBIEE, and also taking advantage of a lot of agents and BI Publisher, complicated scripts that they're running behind the scenes, all sorts of stuff like that. But in this case, they were very well set up to do this migration. For those that don't know also, the way this works is I've got a timeline here showing the different releases. And I just want to give kind of a graphic to this to show you how OBIEE 12.214 came out in about May of 2018. And that was at OAC 4, and that's when those were in sync. Then in February of 2020 or so, then there were several OAC releases that happened. The numbering changed over time, and then is finalized on this 5.5 release that came out in February of 2020. It's all one code path that Oracle does, and then this was the first release of Oracle Analytics Server, was about a year ago. And that's when it collected all of the new features that happened in OAC since the last release of the on-prem product, and called that OAS 5.5. Then since then, of course, we've had new features in OAC 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, and 5.9. And that's now the shipping version of OAC, or what you get when you use the Oracle Cloud. And all of that will get collected into an Oracle Analytics Server release of 5.9. Now you'll note that that's coming out, that's planned by Oracle Product Management. That's when it comes out, is the March of 2021. And notice there's a little bit of a delay there. That's so they can write the installation scripts, do the extra testing that needs to happen for changing OAC into OAS. By that time, we may even be on a new release of OAC, a 6.0 type release of OAC by then or so. But this happens about once a year. These happen, OAC comes out about once a quarter, OAS comes out about once a year. That type of thing is what they plan. I've had conversations with people. There are some differences between those. If you're a customer that's looking at, should we upgrade to this? OAS, the big difference, of course, it runs on-prem. It runs on your data center, or it can run in the cloud, but it's going to run where you're hosting the entire operating system, everything. And you administer that, you take care of the patching. Whereas if you want to use OAC, it runs on the Oracle Cloud, and you can run it on-prem. If you have this cloud customer, you basically buy a big cloud machine from Oracle, but you run it basically on Oracle's cloud. OAS does include the DD interface. The data modeling is the same as what you know, BI admin tool to edit your RPD file, external subject areas, and so forth. And obviously the big difference is how you want the software. If you buy OAS, you're paying for the license and you pay for the support. OAC, you're renting the software in effect, the platform, and you pay by the hour, a month, that type of thing. So those are the differences. There are some very slight differences. There's some things they can't put, Oracle can't put in OAS, the language narrative view, because that relies on some cloud technology. Otherwise, they're the same between the two. This is what the migration process looks like. You start with OBIE 11G, for instance, they were on 11.119. You take a bundle patch, you actually install this software, WebLogic server, there's a patch that you need. This is all in the documentation. And you put it on OAS, you deploy it then and create a new instance. Some of the software comes back to this environment. That's how you grab all the catalogs, all the reports, your RPD and everything, and that bundle goes into this OAS new instance and can go forward. If you happen to be on OBIE 12C, you use a bar file to bring that over. And all of that is documented in the documentation. We also have a webinar on migrating from OBIE to OAS. If you want to go there, you can look at that webinar. I'll put that in the chat when I get a chance. Also a little bit about the project details. The entire project was done remotely during this COVID time, and we did the install via just a Linux login. We basically just exported, imported. One of the members on the Vlamis team did this. I asked him what to go through, and he said, Dan, there's not a whole lot of story to tell. You just install the software and it just does it. You follow the steps in the documentation. We did use the command line for the documentation, and the personal reports came over as well. It's one of the questions we had on when we started on this. We did most of the work. In terms of talking with EKPC folks, we used Microsoft Teams very effectively. Instant messages back and forth. It's a way we could kind of work very effectively remotely on this. Submitted weekly project reports and status reports with the hours that we used on this. Some of the back-end things we ran into, if you're looking at heading on this journey, the biggest issue is a bunch of warnings in the RPD file. There are a lot of warnings. These were because some of the conditions that OBIE looks for, 11G allowed, but in 12C they became warnings. And so we had to look through those. I'll show you an example of that. There's a lot of replication because the same error shows up over and over again. And that may change. This is common in VI apps implementations though. We didn't need since they were using external authentication, really didn't need any changes. The security just migrated along with the export bundle. And we set WebLogic to use external authentication that uses the single sign-on on that. And as a result, all those sign-ons came across, and that basically didn't change. It was using the same authenticator. And that also, the sign-ons are now encrypted from the BI server to all the way to the LDAP server. And it's easier to do this type of stuff in the 12C platform than 11G. This is what those warnings look like in BI admin tool. We exported them out to an Excel spreadsheet, and this doesn't match the defaults. This can cause query problems, all this type of stuff. And we did end up cleaning up some of this in that migration process. So you'll see these, and these are the new ones that the stuff found. You can see how many of these were the count of them, 1,296 of these. This is common in this type of stuff because the same thing is in there over and over again. So this is why we looked at this and tried to figure out which ones are important, basically. In terms of some of the front end, there are some differences in the styles. So there's a Fusion FX style that was used, and the new one that Oracle's going with is Alta. It knows, yeah, it looks a little different. And we wondered, hey, would they say, oh, change that back to the old style? But I think you guys, Darrell looked at it and said, hey, yeah, I actually kind of like it. And it's just a different, the font is a little different, the colors are a little different in the menuing system and such, but it works exactly the same. Some of the custom things we had to adjust. The logos on the reports didn't line up exactly. We helped fix some of those issues. There were some minor spacing issues. And we did find that the treatment of nulls, this is one that was new to us. A couple of the formulas had to be adjusted for the treatment of nulls. Nulls dates changed to a 1900 date as opposed to showing up differently. So we had to adjust some formulas for that. But otherwise, we really didn't change that much when it came to migrating to the new version. These were all kind of nitpicky type things. Guys, interrupt me if there's anything to add on here.
No, that's exactly right.
Okay. So then in terms of the timeline for this, what we did, we started on September 1st. I think that's when we had our kickoff meeting. And that's when we kicked everything off. We had a prepare meeting to make sure we had all the user IDs and everything ready to go. Where are we going to install the software? But then there were some delays. EKPC said, hold on, we have fire that came up that we have to deal with. You know, I'm sure everybody familiar with what's recently happening in Dallas, in Texas, for instance, might understand, yeah, stuff happens with power companies. They have to deal with stuff. So that delayed us really until October 3rd of 2020 is when we started. And we're basically done by October 24 or so. Then there were some wrap-up things that we did, some documentation and some training that we did around November 5th. So most of the work was done in about 3 weeks. And as Darrell alluded to, we did a demo at the end where we showed, hey, this is what your software, all the dashboards and such came across. But of course, none of it capitalized on data visualization. This is a new feature of the product. So we showed EKPC what they could do with data visualization, and that's sparking some very good conversations about changing some dashboards, or do we want to let more people use the ad hoc interface since it's easier to use now, that type of thing. And some of the new machine learning capabilities, it's really a new front end for EKPC. But the big news was they took all their dashboards with them and they were up and running in that 3 weeks. And that system is in production now, is it not?
It is.
It is.
So that's what they're relying on. And I'll let you guys talk to some of the benefits, and then I'll just add in if there's anything else from that.
Well, you know, when we decided to drop support.
James, can you lean into the mic?
Yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting. I apologize. So, you know, when we dropped support back in 2017, 2018, you know, we were stuck on that version. And, you know, by retiring old hardware, you know, that's that's partially true. You know, we host that on Oracle VM. And, but, you know, the underlying virtual machine that it's on, it was on another version of Linux. And, you know, I think support for that ends this year. So, such an easy migration, you know, out of place to a newer stuff, it, you know, helps us get current. But I will say, you know, you mentioned the bar file migration. When we created our dev instance, is basically, you know, create another clean vanilla instance of OAS, put your security providers inside of WebLogic, and grab that bar file and bring the bar file over, and bam, everything is there. The bar file migration and the ability to back up the application inside of itself is probably, to me, the biggest benefits from administrator side.
Yeah, and more from the user side, you know, we've experienced no loss of functionality. The navigation is exactly the same. Again, just some look and feel differences. You know, James has mentioned, you know, we're now supported by your Oracle going forward, so we're at a good place there. We've seen no degradation in performance, the reliability, everything's been really good. And then, you know, on top of that, we get data visualization to look forward to in the future, and all the excitement comes with that. So yeah, it's been very positive.
Yeah, and in some ways, as we talked about doing the presentation, there's, I don't know, it's not a great story here. It was kind of it's a boring project, but I think some people actually look forward to boring projects that just go. So
yeah, in the IT world, that's a real win for sure.
One of the things I also want to mention in terms of, I forgot to bring up with support on database versions, in this case at EKPC, they ended up staying with their on-prem database. That could just as easily be a cloud database, or of course, autonomous data warehouse. But in their case, they were looking at, you know, just staying with the on-prem database for some of the reasons that James mentioned before, making sure, because they're internet provider capabilities. But it could be ADW as well. And that will also capitalize on some of the machine learning capabilities in ADW if you're on that platform, with especially the OAS 5.9 release coming out. So then, in terms of future capabilities, if you guys could talk a little bit to this.
Yeah. So to date, we've right or wrong, we've put formulas into the analyses themselves in many places, and now this sets us up, I think, in a better spot where we have a push to put these formulas into the RPD appropriately in the model layer, in the presentation layer, where they belong, and that'll position us to open things up to a new audience, so they can start using things on their own, being creative on their own, and we don't have to sort of reproduce those formulas. That'll help a lot. That was the right thing to do, and now we're positioned to really do it because we see the key features that are on our doorstep, so that if we go back and clean that up, if you will, it'll really help give people more functionality. So we're excited about the future. Obviously things that come in this world, like data mashups and maps and so forth, just the ability to look into that. And we I think Shruti even talked about how we've set everything up to be very descriptive in manner, and now we can start to look more into why it's happening and be more predictive with some of the data visualization and so forth. That's the future.
So I did want to show what one of those dashboards look like. This is an example of one of the very important dashboards for EKPC. They're looking at actual and budget data, the variance between them. And this is the style dashboard that they brought over. This is actually running in OAS from the screen capture, and it's color coded. We showed what that would look like, actually multiple different ways, a bunch of different canvases of this, what that would look like, looking at the same data, taking advantage of some of the data visualization capabilities and changing what was a tabular report into a graphical representation. Here you can very easily see that labor was a very major contributor, and you hover over that and this can show what that was like. And it's a graphical representation on both a monthly basis and a year-to-date basis of that. We had a bunch of ways of showing that. So that's the type of thing we're looking to do now that they've done the upgrade, to recast some of these dashboards to make them more easily digestible rather than just a table of numbers. This is what that looked like in terms of, in the future, looking at moving to from OBIA 10.3 to 10.1 to 10.3 on OAS. We're in the process now of just wrapping up, moving from OBIA 11.11.10.1 to OBIA 11.11.10.2. We did that as an in-place upgrade, and we're just about done with the out-of-place migration to 11.11.10.3. And now we get WebLogic 12 and OBIE 12, or in this case, OAS and ODI, with the same data warehouse running against this. So anything else on in conclusion on this, Darrell, James?
No, pretty good. I think covered it.
So they're set up well for the future. We kind of already talked about this. There was a question that came up, and let's see if I can find that. Okay, here it goes. What kind of daily volumes are you dealing with? I asked with respect to utilizing advanced capabilities, data flows, model training, that type of stuff. But what kind of daily data volumes are you working with?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's kind of all over the board. We are, from a project-oriented standpoint, it's in, I'd imagine it's in the hundreds. But again, one of the things we do, well, the accounts are thousands and thousands, and in some cases we do have millions of rows. But one of the things we do is, in our instance, we don't need an environment that has to sort of be aggregate, incremental, if you will. So what we do is we fully rebuild everything every day, because that's our environment. We can do that. So I say that to say our data volume is, it's pretty large, because it's every day we're doing the same thing, and just building on it and building on it. So it's in some cases it's hundreds and thousands of rows, and in some other cases it literally is millions, because of the history of data that we deal with every day.
Okay. And then another question was, did you lose much by way of scorecarding capability that was dropped?
Yeah, no, but the point is we don't really do much scorecarding.
You didn't use that. You didn't use that module. This is one of Notch's. By the way, I'll drop in the chat here the webinar on migrating from OBA to OAS. Points out some of those. There are a few things that were dropped, like scorecarding. Right. So it wasn't an issue for them.
Yeah, we try to do some, things ourselves. We've created some semblance of that ourselves, and that's why I allude to that. But yeah, we don't use the formal capabilities of scorecarding. So of course that wasn't a problem.
Yep. Okay. With that, I'll thank you for participating, guys, and we'll move on to the next session.
Thank you.
Thank you.